Hey there, All Things MSP crew. Welcome back to another vendor update. And I love these types of vendor updates because today I have an actual partner of a vendor on the show. And those are great because you get to hear from a peer how the solution from that vendor works for them and kind of the process that they went through for evaluating and why they chose that partner. Now, today's partner is a sponsor of All Things MSP. It is Easy DMark. They were one of the first sponsors of All Things MSP, and they continue to be a sponsor of All Things MSP, and we really do thank them for that. But today we have a special guest, and by special, I mean somebody that you probably already know in the industry. She's written a really good book on cybersecurity for the SMB. That would be Ann Westerheim from Ikaru. Hey, Ann.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. I'm so happy to be here today.
Well, I'm excited to have you. And it's weird because there are people like you that I've known for quite a while in this industry, worked with at CompTIA, now
Yeah.
GTIA, and just haven't had a chance to have on the show yet. So it's really nice to have you.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that because I feel like I've known you for so long, and finally we get to record together. So this is awesome.
Yeah. And of course, we're doing this for Easy DMark, but I want to give you a chance to introduce you and your MSP first a little bit. So give us a little bit of the history there.
Yeah, so I run an MSP called Ikaru. We're a security-focused MSP in the Boston, Massachusetts area, so sort of serving Eastern Massachusetts, a little bit of New Hampshire. And we've been on this mission to really bring security to Main Street. And so I started in the technology space working in the semiconductor industry. So I was deep into plasma processing, and I took a break to be a consultant when my kids were young. And then I really wanted to do work that was local. I love technology. So I'm a technology enthusiast my entire life. So I started consulting in technology and then quickly saw that there was a giant need for small business. Like all these patents and all this technology is coming out from these big tech giants. And the names have changed over the past 20 years. But really, what's happening at the last mile with small business? Because I really believe that everybody should be able to benefit from technology. Technology isn't something that should just benefit the big tech companies. Everyone should be able to benefit and grow with technology.
Yeah, completely agree. And one of the interesting things that I think happens with SMB specifically is they tend to adopt a little bit earlier sometimes because it's so easy for them to make that decision. And obviously, that can also open up security risks.
Yeah, I mean, you see a lot of that going on with AI right now. So folks want to do something. So we try to put some guardrails around. Okay, think about security, and and I'm a big believer that there's smart and affordable security basics that make a really big difference. It doesn't have to be super complicated. So it is good. Small businesses are really well positioned to be nimble and to adopt things quickly. And we just want to make sure, okay, but adopt quickly, pivot, because that's your advantage as a smaller organization. So run with it, but also make sure that you're doing things securely.
Yeah. And so you are so passionate about this. You actually wrote a book called Cybersecurity for Main Street Cyber Fit in 21 Days.
Yeah, I had so much fun putting that book together because I've thought for a long time I want to write a book, and my thing is I want everybody to love technology, embrace technology, but also use it safely. And so I finally said, okay, I have to do this. In fact, I was at a GTIA, what was CompTIA meeting, and I was just jotting. That's when I wrote down the whole outline. Like, I have to do this. I have to get this done. And I just blocked out time on my calendar to do it. But what I put together is I wanted to make it very accessible. And that's why I made the book kind of like a fitness plan. So 21-day transformation, right? But I open up every chapter with a cartoon from my favorite tech cartoonist, Randy Glassberg. And so I licensed a bunch of cartoons just to kind of break the ice, have a little fact. And then my mission is to empower people. And a lot of times, MSPs we have all the acronyms and people just shut down or it's almost like it could be insulting to them. So I want to empower people and to think about like, hey, it's so cool. Like you could take out your phone and make a car magically appear to take you somewhere, right? Technology is cool. And yeah, there are some challenging challenges and roadblocks, but hey, it's not that hard to put in multi-factor authentication and just do it. And here's why. And when that light bulb goes off for people and they realize, oh, I get it. So if somebody got my password somehow, even through no fault of my own. If I have multi-factor authentication, for example, they're not going to be able to get into my account. They're like, oh, okay, that's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the fact that you did it in 21 days, or the prescription, you can get them cyber fit in 21 days because that really fits with the agile and kind of sometimes ADD characteristic of a small to medium sized business. So I think that's great.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, thank you. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I know we're here to talk about EasyDmark, and specifically, I wanted to talk about email security when it comes to SMB. So where does email security fit into an SMB's security plan, and why is it important?
Yeah, so I think there's two really important things. So first of all, there's the tech behind DMARC, which uh, can get a little complicated to the general small business owner. But what I would say is, hey, if you're a business and you're running, a promotion or marketing through email, you want to make sure that your emails are actually getting delivered. If you're sending an important proposal to a client, you want to make sure that email gets delivered. So that's one piece of the equation, and that's where DMARC will help with deliverability. The second piece is in terms of email security. In this day and age, it's really important to do as much as you can to protect for business email compromise. So that's trying to prevent somebody else from impersonating you and sending a fake invoice like, hey, pay this invoice to some other bank account that's controlled by a criminal. So those are the two basic things. Everything we do at Ekara, we based on the NIST cybersecurity framework, CIS controls. And if you go, NIST has a great write up on best practices for email. And that's right. That's part of the DMARC is part of that equation. So it's something that maybe the average person doesn't know what it is, but they know I want my mail to be delivered, and I don't want anybody out there pretending to be me.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Absolutely. And that deliverability piece is important too, because so many small to medium sized businesses leverage email for marketing. They need to make sure that those emails are getting delivered uh, from a business effectiveness standpoint as well. So
yeah.
it's security and operational efficiency. So when you started looking for a DMARC solution, what kind of drew you to Easy DMARC?
Yeah, I think so. Our whole theme is we try to put together smart and affordable things that solve specific problems. And so, in the past couple of years, Google and Yahoo and Microsoft have all said, we're not going to accept, if you don't follow proper DMARC protocols, we're not going to accept your email. So that's kind of a call to action. Got to get something done around that. And then I met the Easy DMARC team at one of the industry events. And just like, okay, this is a really an elegant solution that solves for a specific problem that really every small business needs to pay attention to. And the visibility of the reporting is really nice. And the idea that you don't want anybody impersonating you, but what if somebody's trying? Like, there's a lot of insights that you can get from there. And I just instantly liked the team. I thought it was just we're solving for something that small businesses really need to be concerned about. And at the same time, it's a simple and elegant solution that just naturally kind of fit into the things that we're recommending to clients. So,
So you mentioned the visibility piece. How do you use that visibility to explain things to your clients when maybe issues come up or when you're doing business reviews, things like that?
yeah, so we want to make sure that they're following best practices. So, for example, PCI compliance. Right now, if a lot of small businesses will accept credit cards, you may be processing through QuickBooks, and within those guidelines, you're supposed to enable anti-phishing techniques. So, DMARC is just such an important part of security. So, as folks go on and either have to meet compliance requirements, the overall general security. It's kind of a cat and mouse game. So as more people abuse email, then the big players say, okay, well, we're not going to accept email if you don't follow these rules. So then you have to follow the rules. In terms of the reporting, like we like to be very transparent with our clients and show them, like, this is what we're doing for you behind the scenes. Now, in some cases, folks won't maybe resonate, but maybe a graph showing, like, here's your email volume, here's the green check marks that we're showing, you're being compliant. And with security, it's tough because you can't ever have 100% security. But if you do all the things to kind of stack the deck in your favor, you can make a
Right.
really big impact. And that's what we try to tell people that, and that's really important. And if we think of small business, it's half the U.S. economy, and a lot of folks think when there's a major cyber event, that makes national news. And I think too many small businesses think of security by obscurity. But, it's a terrible day when somebody impersonates, kind of gets in the middle of a transaction with a client and say, oh, we changed our bank information, so pay to this other account. That's a terrible day for a small business.
Yeah.
And big businesses can maybe rebound from things like that, but a 10-person, 20-person, a true small business would have a tough time rebounding. The reputation damage is enormous.
Yeah, and I think you and I both have probably seen examples of
Mhm.
either small to medium sized businesses that actually had to go out of business or took years to recover from an incident like that.
Yeah, sometimes we get called in afterwards, and I think at that point, when somebody's actually felt the burning stove and got burned by it, they're like, "Okay, how fast can you do everything you can do to help us be more secure?" And I would say the lucky thing, I haven't seen anybody actually have to go out of business, which is great. But I've had people tell me if it weren't for the sake of having cyber insurance, we would not have survived.
Yeah.
And cyber insurance can't cover all of the financial risk, but it does offset it and make it a survivable event. So, because there's downtime,
Yeah.
you may lose clients, there's long term reputation. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. Not that like scaring people just makes people freeze, but when maybe somebody knows somebody who had an event, they might ask, okay, how can we prevent that or help? I always say help prevent that from happening.
Yeah, exactly. Now, another piece of DMARC, and I'll lump SPF and DKIM into this as well,
Yeah.
is actually getting the whole thing set up and configuring everything properly. How does Easy DMARC help you and your team configure things like when you're onboarding a new client?
Yeah, one thing that's nice is a lot of times, and I'm sure every MSP can relate to this, you go ask, you're doing onboarding, you're asking some questions to your client, and it's like, oh, do you use, what platforms do you use to send email? It's like, no, we just use, Microsoft 365, like that's our email platform. And then you find out, oh, well, the marketing department is using HubSpot or another mailing source, Constant Contact. There's a lot of really great ones out there. And so you can actually get visibility to that before you lock everything down and say, well, wait a second, we're seeing this mail. And it may be legitimate mail, for example, in our own business, we have emails coming from our ticketing systems, emails coming from HubSpot, emails coming from our quoting system. They're coming from a lot of different. Those are legitimate emails, but technically they are spoofed emails, and we have to sort of grant authority. So by being able to kind of turn things on, sort of in a soft mode, collect all the information, and then you could sit down and talk to the client and say, "Oh, we're seeing this. Oh yeah, I remember our marketing department said they were starting something new, or they switched from this platform to that platform." Um, and a lot of times people will think, "Oh, my mail doesn't work because stuff doesn't get delivered," or it's working, but we need to debug a few things. But getting that visibility, I think, helps people understand. And it could also identify if there's a problem of some actual impersonation out there that's not legitimate.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the strengths when I looked at EasyDmark was
Yeah.
that on an ongoing basis, like you were talking about, if marketing decides to add another tool that happens to send email, you get notified pretty quickly that by looking at those reports that something else has been added and those emails are not being delivered. And so instead of that client just thinking something's wrong or not even knowing that those emails aren't going out, you can let them know a lot faster.
Yeah, I mean, getting, that response time is really important. And, every small business is trying to retain clients, attract new clients. And if they're running a great campaign, it's like, hey, this isn't working. Why are people not responding? People aren't booking appointments with us or whatever it is. This gives quick insight because, you can't call or, hey, did you get my email? You can't really call every single person. So, yeah, getting that visibility, and I think it also just helps like give kind of a framework to talk about the issue because it's the technology is sort of invisible in a way, so
Right.
there's a framework to talk about it.
All right. Is there anything else that somebody who's looking to implement a DMARC solution should look at specifically for Easy DMARC that was maybe one of the other reasons you chose Easy DMARC specifically?
Yeah, I thought the onboarding was really great. It's kind of easy setup. I like the reporting, just really clean reporting. It was pretty easy to kind of put into our technology stack, and it solves a direct problem. I feel like, the support's been good. So really, it kind of just checks all the boxes. And a lot of times, like, it can be overwhelming running an MSP because stuff is changing all the time. And I just categorize as this just worked pretty seamlessly, which is a nice thing. And I love the team.
Yeah, I think you said it really well earlier on when you were describing it. You called it simple and elegant. And I would agree, having seen their interface, seeing how it works, how, everything's set up, I would
Yeah.
agree with that statement. So,
Yeah.
Anne, thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you for the Easy DMARC for arranging this. Really do appreciate it. And I'll see you around at an event.
Yeah, I'll see you soon and thank you. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you.